This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning. This is the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida Special Magistrate Code Enforcement hearing. Today is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. It is 10 o'clock. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is adoption of the April 6th, 2021 meeting minutes. I have reviewed those and I will hereby adopt those without any revision. And then next order of business is to swear anyone who is going to be speaking on any items on today's agenda in. This is a quasi judicial hearing, so anybody who's going to be speaking, if you could rise and raise your right hand for me. You all swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yep.
Thank you. A little bit about process. Looks like we have a violation hearing and a fine reduction hearing on today's hearing. For the violation hearing, if there are any respondents, the town will go first, present its case, to which you will then be able to reply, present any evidence, cross-examine any of their witnesses, and speak to me and offer anything you would like to get onto the record for your case. We also do have a fine reduction hearing. That changes. The burden is on the person requesting the fine mitigation to go first and present why they believe that the fine should be reduced. At the end of each of the cases, I will make a formal ruling and you'll get an order in the mail. With that, I'll turn it over to the town.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Christy Gott on behalf of the town of Ocean Ridge. Your Honor, first on today's agenda is the violation hearing for the Tamron. Included in the file, which is before you, is email correspondence between myself and Ken Khalil, the attorney for the property owner. Pursuant to that email, we are requesting a continuance of this case to the June hearing date. They are continuing to work on the issue and they've applied recently for a permit. And hopefully, once they get that permit and quickly resolve the issue, we may not even need to go to the violation hearing, but we do want to set it for June so that we make sure that this gets resolved.
Okay, and the opposing counsel is in agreement with that continuance, I presume?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that June hearing date is June 1st. At 10 a.m. So hearing that both parties have agreed to continue the matter, I will grant the mutually agreed continuance and set this for hearing if necessary on June 1st, 2021. That'd be a violation hearing if necessary.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mindy, are we gonna still reserve the fees, the administrative fees?
They can be reserved. It depends if you actually get to violation hearing. I guess the thing to remember is, should you be requesting assessment of all your fees, you do need to go through the violation finding process. So I can have the order reflect that you're reserving on costs for today's hearing. I think the previous orders have done that.
Your Honor, I didn't discuss that with Mr. Khalil, and I think I would rather not address it. If the town desires to move forward, even if the violation is complied, to seek its fines, we then will pursue the hearing. But since I didn't discuss that with him, I don't want to speak for him and include something that we didn't really discuss. But certainly if the town feels it needs to move forward to seek its administrative costs, even if in compliance, we'll move forward with the violation hearing. But we're hoping this just gets resolved.
Okay, so the order will reflect the reservation of costs should they be necessary, but with the understanding that if it doesn't proceed to violation hearing, that won't be necessary anyways.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Next case.
Your Honor, the second item on today's agenda is the fine reduction hearing. This is case 2021-002, City Trust and Daniel Baruch Trust. I'm assuming he's the trustee at 6080 Old Ocean Boulevard in the town of Ocean Ridge. Your Honor, this, as you noted, this is a fine reduction hearing, and I believe the property owner representative is present this morning. And just for the record, Your Honor, the fines and administrative costs in this matter have accrued to $3,444.20.
Was that number
3444.20.
Okay, are the respondents present? You could approach the podium and state your names for the record, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is David Crank. I own the property.
And the other gentleman that's with you?
Rich, he's worked with me for a long time in St. Louis. He helps me manage the property.
Okay, last name, sir?
Syberg, Syberg.
Okay. And just give me one moment to read your letter here.
No rush.
Okay, I've read your letter. So as I said at the beginning, when we started this process, the burden is on you for fine mitigation. So go ahead and explain why you think the fine should be reduced. And before you get into that, town attorney, do you have a split on the cost versus the fine?
Yes, Your Honor. The administrative fee is $194.20. And the remainder is the fines. So if my math is correct, the fines are $3,250.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, Your Honor, I'm from St. Louis, and so we're a big union town. We built a lot of buildings and I've owned a decent amount of property there, and I've never been to court for this kind of thing because in St. Louis, you don't play, you do what they say or the unions won't use you anymore. So I was surprised when we wanted to do some things down here and we called the contractor and he assured us he knew what he was doing. And then he said, you know, he would handle all the permits and all that stuff, because the last thing I wanted to do is, I love this town, that's why I moved here, was to not like see the police officers or whoever and they're not happy with us. So that was really upsetting to us. So we do not ever do stuff that's not by the rules. And my property manager, it's his first time kind of doing this kind of thing. So he assumed, like I did from St. Louis, hey, this guy's handling it all. And he did it. So then my wife, who was like, anytime I do something stupid, she's like, you know what, I'm going to handle this now. So she got on the phone with the contractor. He said he, you know, got everything done. She's like, well, just send me an email that you did that, because the city's saying you did it. And he could not bring that stuff up. And so she was just kept pressing him for proof. He couldn't prove it. And then all of a sudden we get called into court. That was like, oh my gosh, that's Monday, because we live in two cities. So we were supposed to do a television shoot in St. Louis on Monday. So we were supposed to fly to Atlanta and do work there Sunday night. We didn't want to like send an attorney in here or anything like that. So there's like 7 of us in this group. So we paid all the airfares to fly him to Atlanta Sunday night, because we had to do that event, flew back here, did the court, and then, you know, delayed everybody on Monday. So there was a lot of expenses in doing all that. But I just, because I want to live here a long time, I wanted to represent myself and make sure that everyone understood we just don't do that kind of thing. And then, so my apologies. We don't want any trouble with the AR and make sure it's done right. So I think Rich has some timelines on this stuff. He can't live this.
Your Honor. On our last hearing, I had submitted a timeline with all the steps that we took to try to stay so active to show you that we were making a very solid effort. And then as soon as the hearing was done on the 6th, I contacted the new contractor, because we had, remember Mr. Guy, we had picked up a new contractor to get the permits done right and to follow the right course of action. He then said we needed one more signature. We signed that. The very next day, the permit was submitted, and then it was approved on the 9th. So if I could submit this as evidence so you can see our time frame of all the steps and actions that we took, I would like to do so. And also, when I was looking at the issuing of the permit, which we have right here, the entire packet, it shows that the permit was issued on the 9th, and that our fine showing that we did not fall into compliance on the 12th, which is 4 days from the issuing to when we were saying we were in compliance, which was an accumulation of another $1,000, which I was hoping to have that removed since we were in compliance on the 9th of April and not the 12th of April. Also have our affidavit for the letter of compliance. And as Mr. Frank said, this was all done in good faith. We were working with contractors. We just discovered through a hard path that you have to stay very diligent with them and continue to ask questions. So we have just really worked through, we've taken more steps to take over the role of contractor to follow through with the permits. I know Mr. Guy and everybody in this office has spent a lot of time, a lot of phone calls and conversations just to show in good faith and trust that we want to honor, we want to respect the system. We really enjoyed here. I have been thoroughly educated. I've learned to ask many, many questions. So I'm just hoping with all of this that the court will find it to reduce the fine dramatically and also for the $1,000 to be removed off of that. So I have these here, and this is also the receipt showing that the administrative fees were resolved from the first hearing.
So go ahead and show anything that you want to put into evidence, and I think we have your affidavit of compliance, but whatever documents you have there, go ahead and give those to the town attorney over here
Oh.
and have her look at them before I see them, and let's make sure she doesn't have any issue with it.
This is theirs.
Thank you so much.
And while she's looking at them, I know you mentioned the $1,000 based on the permit issuance date, but what typically in a fine reduction hearing, I know your letter says consider waiving the fines, but do you have an amount that you're seeking, or are you seeking it all the way down to zero?
We'd like for zero, but I mean, 90%, 95%. We're just looking for something drastic because we never did this in malice. We never delivered, tried to deceive. And this was the first time this has ever happened in our relationships with anybody, anything. So I'm hoping for grace here on this with assurance that our relationship stays good and that we will no longer ever have to be in this situation.
And do you have any objection, town attorney, to those documents?
I do not. I'm just having the billing official, Durrani Guy, take a look at them. And I believe Ms. Gatewood may know, but I believe the fine, the administrative costs were paid for the initial hearing, but there was a fine assessment hearing and the administrative costs of $194.20 is based on the imposition hearing for imposing the fine.
That's what the order assessing fine in the file here shows, $194.20 for that fine assessment hearing.
The first administrative fees were paid.
For the violation
second
hearing?
one, I think you have a hard time with the website.
Yeah,
Bill
we were-
Proof, it went through or not.
Yeah, we went through it twice, but I still have not received an email receipt. Like last time it came the next day.
We
So-
did a credit card check today of all the current ones and there was.
It did not go through again?
Mhm.
Your Honor, we came in to take care of that and there just seemed to be an issue. So I apologize for that.
And what's the town's position with regard to the permit issuance date?
Mr. Guy, do you want to speak to that?
Your Honor, at this moment, the town is actually researching and in the process of getting new software for a new permitting program. The one we have is very limited. A permit is issued when the client receives the permit. So the date that the permit was processed is the time when the clerk did the final review and had it forwarded to the front desk. When the client picks up the permit is when the permit is officially issued, because then the permit needs to go to the site and be posted. So it was not issued until the client picked it up. Understand that there's a discrepancy in the date, and that is the reason. So it was not issued until it picked it up, and that's our position on when the permit was issued. If it's sitting there and the client does not pick it up, it is in the office and not issued technically.
Okay, so your affidavit of compliance reflects the date that the permit was picked up. That'd be the April 12th date, not the April 9th date. What is the town's position with regard to the mitigation request?
Your Honor, based on the amount of staff time that's been involved in this case, the town is recommending a reduction to $813.50. That's reducing the total fine amount by 75%. So an imposition of 25% of the total fine amount.
And is that inclusive of the administrative costs? or
No, that
those-
would be in addition.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I speak on the issuing that Mr. Guy spoke of on the 12th? We did not pick this up. Our new contractor was the one, but when I went and researched, I could not find anything online in your assessment that says, well, Mr. Guy experienced that once we pick it up is when the date of issuance. All I can go by is what was delivered to me with the 9th on this. So I
Understood,
just wanted to let
understood.
you know on that.
Yeah, understood. And I think from what the town attorney just said in terms of the town's agreement to reduce this, it sounds like that amount of money goes away anyway. So I think what the town has agreed to is a very reasonable reduction that reduces the fine by a substantial amount. So I'm going to agree with the town and I'm going to grant your reduction request. I'm going to reduce the fine amount from $3,250 to $813.15. Payable within 30 days, town attorney, is that acceptable?
Yes, that works for you.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So it's $813.50.
Oh, I'm sorry, 50 cents, thank
If
you.
my math is correct.
813.50 will be the fine reduction. The administrative costs, those are hard costs to the town. So those for the fine assessment hearing in the amount of $194.20 need to be paid. It sounds like you're in process of trying to pay those, but for the purposes of today's order, the order mitigating fine will show a reduced fine amount to $813.50. If you don't pay those within the 30 days, just know that those revert back to the original amount. So make sure you get those paid timely so that the
Yes, sir.
issue resolves. And with that, you'll get an order in the mail showing that reduction. Do you need these documents back or do you need copies?
No, Your Honor, I have copies, so
Okay.
you can keep those for state.
Okay.
Town, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further from the town?
No, Your Honor, that concludes our cases for this morning.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn the hearing at 10:17.
Thank you, Your Honor.